And I know that name because apparently there was an old story where the Morrigan disguises herself as a young woman. And I don't know if we should start it this way, but and she approaches this warrior. He's a aspiring hero, and he says, "I don't have any time for foolish woman ideals or to start a family or anything like that. He's only after glory." So after being thoroughly rejected and dishonored by this man, she reveals herself to be the Morrigan, and it's kind of like the Odyssey story, but in Norse or in
Greek.
No,
Celtic.
The Odyssey. The Odyssey or the
Gaelic, in Gaelic tradition.
Gaelic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So wait, so is he Odysseus or is she Odysseus? Like, who is the main character of the Odyssey, of this Gaelic Odyssey?
But he would have been Odysseus.
Okay. Oh, so what is she like?
She is the one that's trialing, so if after that she just
So is she like Athena?
gives him more and more trouble like throughout his journey to really test his mettle, and by the end of it he gets to be a hero, but like at a cost. It's a strange story, and it kind of always felt out of place for everything else, but it was a good story. I felt, I can't find it. This one starts out and I feel like they got it all wrong. It says that Chulain, I can never pronounce that name. It's saying that
Cuchulainn.
What did it say? Right here it's saying he beat an old woman. He attacks an old woman, driving a heifer from his territory. However, this woman transformed into a raven, and he realized that it was the Morrigan, and states that he would have acted more wisely had he known who she was. This almost feels like they changed the whole story to fit the ideology better. It's about showing respect to all people, not just those that benefit you.
Yeah. Well,
so there's a lot of like changing of history that goes on, especially with these lesser known stories.
Does it change much in the meaning if it's a spurned lover versus an old woman who gets beaten up? Or does it end up being the same?
The moral's still kind of the same, because he like went out of his way to be disrespectful instead of just going on about his life. No, he like apparently ridiculed her, and then he tried to go off and become this noble hero, and she didn't. It was about how he did it that she then gives him all of these extra trials and kills all of his men and eventually ties him to a rock. I always thought it was a really interesting story.
So, murderers, we're here today with Cameron, who is going to be telling us a little bit about the Morrigan in his own personal experience and his own personal practice, which is not to say that this is going to match up with any of you out there who also have a relationship with the Morrigan. This is his experience. So, stay tuned after the music.
There is a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, pecking at it until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead Crow now. Join us as we attempt to look through the wandering crow's eye to find the gateway to the supernatural, to seek to know the unknowable mysteries of creation. Welcome to the Wandering Crow Podcast.
Okay. All right, murderers. Thank you. We are back. And so now we're going to just start peppering Cameron with questions. So,
first thing I'd like to ask is, this is part of paganism, right?
As an umbrella term.
The Morrigan is a pagan, or Celtic belief is a pagan belief. I'm not real sure on, like, I've always heard the term paganism, and what is an actual pagan?
Pagan is just a term for a smaller religion.
I
So, like Christianity used to be paganism.
I think it depends on who you ask. There's been a lot of revision of history. For a hardcore Christian, pagan means devil worship, pure and simple. It's someone who is not a Christian, who is therefore misguided and is a heathen, is, worshiping other deities and false gods and whatever. I think if you're speaking from the perspective of an actual pagan, it is, to me, it's an umbrella term, under which might fall a lot of other beliefs. Cameron, what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, so pagan is just really broad.
It's
So,
very broad.
yes.
It's like a belief in a deification. Like, it's a belief in deities, in a multiple different deities, and there are different pantheons. It depends on what style of pagan you are. Like, I feel like there's, like, the Nordic pagans are heathens, I feel like. That's just from observing. But there is like a tie to Wicca. Wicca is not necessarily pagan, and a Wiccan is not a pagan, and a pagan is not necessarily a Wiccan, but they kind of come from some similar roots, I feel like, in the same sort of area of the world. Like, it's like the Gaelic, Celtic, Britain.
I looked it up, and here's kind of what Google says about it.
Okay.
The term pagan comes from the Latin word paganus, which means rural or rustic. Early Christians used the term in the 4th century to describe people in the Roman Empire who practice polytheism or other ethnic religions. Modern paganism emerged in Europe and North America in the 20th century and is inspired by religions of pre-Christian Europe, North Africa, and West Asia. And then it also says that paganism is a diverse community that includes many different groups, such as Wiccans, Druids, shamans, sacred ecologists, Odinists, and heathens.
I feel like a lot of those groups would disagree that they are pagan.
Okay.
A shaman is not a pagan. But I think the overall definition seems okay. It fits all right.
This is an interesting part, though, is Morrigan is considered like a shamanistic practice.
Interesting.
So I don't think it lines up with your definition of shaman, though.
No. Well, I don't know. And JT, what was your original question, though?
Just paganism, like, just because it's different from Christianity, it's different from Muslim, and it's just different, I guess, loosely religious term.
Yeah.
Because I think paganism as well, I've always heard the term, and I've never really understood what paganism is because I've never really researched it. But to me, it's non-Christian religion.
Yeah. It's
basically
non-Christian, I think, European religion.
Okay.
I think you could probably pre-Christian, and there's a lot of in the old gods, and I think there is a lot of polytheism in that, and it depends on which deity I think defines what the actual practice is.
Okay.
And
Deity or deities
believes in like the god of the land. So in Azatru, all of the gods could be real. It's just that's the god of the land.
That's something else. I feel like in a lot of these religions or these belief systems, I feel like there's an openness to accepting that other gods exist. It's simply not their god. Like, does that make sense too? Like, I feel like in Christianity, there is no other god than Yahweh. All other gods are false gods. But in these other belief systems, it's okay that other gods exist. They're just not that person's god. Like, that's just not part of their pantheon or their practice. So I feel like there's more of an acceptance and a general, like, yeah, those other gods are there. I don't really have anything to do with them, though.
Yeah. So, like, to me, like, Christians would think that all other religions are pagan. all of their
or like a
idols.
temptation from the devil.
Yeah,
To
like
lead you
Egyptian
astray.
gods are pagan, or but I don't necessarily think that about Native American though. Like I don't think Native American is pagan. I would never
Well, because
equate
it's
that.
not European, right? And I
Right.
wouldn't equate Egyptian either. And I think it depends on the Christian, probably. But when they were coming over freshly from, wherever, and they were colonizing this world, I do think that the term pagan probably was applied. Heathenry.
Well, yeah, because they had
Because they were,
missions.
yeah,
They were
because they were
converting the foolish pagans of the land.
away from their false gods.
Well, I'm going to again throw this out to the murderers and say, hey, murderers, if you have an idea, email us at wanderingcrowpodcast@gmail.com. Let's see what you guys think.
Join the
'Cause-
Facebook group, and we have an
Yes.
Instagram.
Join the Discord.
Oh, yeah, we have a Discord.
Oh,
How do
yeah, there
we
you go.
get them? Are we going to have a link to the Discord on the website?
Yeah, we can. Well, for now, let's go ahead and let me just pull up Discord.
What
I might
is
save that as a clip.
the Wandering Crow Podcast Discord?
There it is.
Yay! We should post that in the Facebook group and on the Instagram.
What is it? Can you say it? Does it work to say?
No.
HTTPS
It's in the comments.
://discord.gg/r AY Niner P74C. Which,
Yeah, we'll just post that.
yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want to just join it and try to find it, it's called The Murder.
Oh, the murder.
A murder.
Are you not a member?
I don't think
You're
He
a member.
might. He might not be. I don't know. Okay. So moving forward, so that was kind of an interesting little conversation we just had. I think honestly, it truly depends on who you're asking, because I'm sure there's plenty of Christians who are more than capable of making a distinction between paganism and Wicca and heathenry, and probably are very respectful and understand the differences. Whereas, there's Christians who don't, and there's even pagans and Wiccans who don't seem to truly understand and just want to lump everything together. And then, there's a lot of argument. So I don't think that if you asked 1,000 practicing Wiccans and pagans what a pagan was, I think you'd get 1,000 different answers.
It's a bit loaded.
So it is
Okay.
a kind of a tough question.
Moon. That's
What?
somebody from my D&D
I just thought
group.
I'd throw that out there because it just kind of came up in my research, and I'm like, what's the difference here? What is? I mean, what are we?
I think it's a good question, but I don't think it's one that I could answer, honestly. I have a question. Cameron, can you tell us a little bit of your religious and spiritual background growing up? Like, give us a little bit of a sense of where you started from and how you got to be. Because I have a follow-on question. Like, what did you grow up believing when you were young, before you were introduced to the Morrigan? Did you have like a set belief?
So
we grew up in vastly different households, basically, because I was so much older than you.
We were kind of raised Christian, but we were bouncing between church to church. I think we went through different branches of Christianity too.
Yep.
And I remember making the argument real young. So if Jesus is the Son of God and we are all the children of God, does that mean that we're all Jesus? And they didn't like that. That was apparently blasphemous.
Where were you that you said that?
It was some Sunday school. I don't
my
remember.
God.
I was young, and basically I said, I am Jesus, and they didn't.
They would think that's blasphemous. Yeah, I can see
It's
that.
their words.
Yeah, totally.
But
okay.
That
so
reminds
I
me of a scene
grew
from
up-
the Blues Brothers. Aretha Franklin. Don't you blaspheme in here. Don't you blaspheme in here.
So I kind of grew up seeing like some double standards and some inconsistencies with that religion. I mean, obviously inconsistencies. We were going from branch to branch. Everybody had their own kind of angle on it. And that might have shaped why I liked the idea of coming to terms with things yourself. And then, Mandy, you actually introduced me to the world of like spiritualism.
When was that? I think I
Remember
remember
when we
this.
watched The Craft?
Oh, that was
And
it? Really?
we watched The Craft, and then
A
you started a
fictional
circle.
movie?
You started
Oh,
a circle because of that. And then
I
we
don't.
started exploring things ourselves. And remember, like, we started the circle, and out of nowhere, a big gust of wind came after we did our initiation rites, and it, like, knocked over several of the trash cans that were down the street, or on the opposite side of us. And, like, it started raining a little bit later that night.
Were
I don't
our
know.
neighbors involved in that with us? Our neighbor friends?
Down the street, yes.
Yeah. Okay. There was a lot of weird stuff that we were doing back then. We were just kids, though.
But
I
it kind of
do.
opened my eyes to the power of the land and the local spirits, and so that kind of led my spiritual journey from then on. Is I started trying to find things out for myself and explore more into that spiritual side of things. And at that point, I considered myself a pagan, not really knowing what pantheon I wanted to follow or what I really believed in.
Yeah.
But I did consider myself just a pagan because I didn't prescribe. I didn't subscribe to any set faith at that point. I was just sort of figuring things out.
I do very much remember a conversation. I was driving Dad's truck, I think, and we were headed somewhere. I don't either, like to or from the library, maybe, or maybe I picked you up from school. I don't remember. And you were telling me about something related, craft related, and supernatural related. And I think it had to do with like knowing things, like you were knowing things that you couldn't know, or like you felt like you were able to do things that you shouldn't be able to do. And I very distinctly remember telling you, like, look, do what you're going to do, but you can't tell people about this stuff. Like, people are going to think that you're crazy
Yeah,
and you're going to have a lot of problems. I don't know if you remember that conversation. I
that
had to have
was.
been
I feel like that
16 or
was
17.
before too.
Yeah, you would have been little. You would have been like 9 or 10 at that point. You were still really little.
And then later, I started. I found out that there's a name for that too. They call them the wise men, or in what we just did with the Jin episode, that would be considered like a soothsayer, somebody who gets hidden knowledge without knowing really where it comes from.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
that would coincide with like my night terrors or that thing that I saw when we first moved into this house. That was all before we really started exploring the spiritual side of things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So all of the night terrors and stuff, was that before you feel like you first met the Morrigan? Like what was the
That was
timeline
before,
there?
and I do think those are separate things.
Okay. So you were having night terrors and being visited by creatures when you were fairly young in the house where we kind of grew up, sort of. This
Well, and
sort
back in
of.
Phoenix too.
Oh,
It
in
kind of
Phoenix too.
kind of followed us here.
Stuff was going
Just
on in Phoenix?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was all in Fountain Hills.
No, yeah, no. It been going on. I had like 8 nights of insomnia because I was so paranoid to go to sleep back in Phoenix.
What happened in Phoenix that made you paranoid to sleep?
The night terrors, like I would see very vividly, and like I would scream out, and I would never wake up from the night terror. It's just it felt real. It's almost like
Okay.
I woke up from a dead sleep, saw something, scream, and mom and dad came running into the room.
Do you remember what you were seeing?
Uh, it was like aliens. Remember? Because I had that conversation with you too before. I used to see like aliens, or I would see shadow creatures.
Any lizards?
No. Well, I saw one that looked
Reptiles?
suspiciously like E.T. from the movie E.T.
Oh.
I do know. So, JT, I don't know if we've talked about this with you or not, but when we were little, all of the doors to every room had to be open and lights had to be on in multiple places because, like, the house could not be in darkness because my mom would see people. Like, she would see things at night. And it was too much for her. So the lights just always had to be on. And that was like from my very like early. Like, in fact, when I first moved out of the house, it was really hard for me to sleep if there weren't still some lights on. Like, it took me a long time to be able to sleep in pure darkness because I just was not. That's just not what was done. That's just not what we did. And so I'm not super surprised. I guess I didn't realize, or I don't remember, that you were also experiencing that, Cameron.
Yeah. And it was days. Yeah, it was 8 days I couldn't sleep.
How are you still alive?
I don't know.
Like,
You can.
being up
11
that
is
long
the
can
record.
cause a psychotic episode.
11
Boy.
is the record.
Is
Not
11
exactly
11 is the
normal
record?
either, so
Well, yeah, clearly,
That's
I
true.
guess.
Well, he was young. The brain is pretty plastic at that age.
Maybe you are
Okay.
part Jin. I don't know.
So you were seeing things, and did they talk to you at all, or was it purely visual? Do you remember?
I mean, yes, they would talk to you, and it would be visual as well. More often than not, it almost seemed like they were surprised that I could see them.
I know.
Like, I needed to pretend that I was still asleep, because if
Yeah.
they realized I was awake and I knew that they were there, that's when they would come after me.
I actually remember that feeling. There's actually really huge gaps in my memory from when I was a kid. There's a lot that I just don't. It's just gone. I just don't remember. Like big
Did you
gaps.
get kidnapped by aliens?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Well,
To this day, I still don't think that they
Gaps.
were actually aliens.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that at the time, too, as I got a different feeling from it. I didn't think they were aliens back then.
Interdimensional beings.
More likely.
Monsters. I remember feeling
Yeah.
like there was monsters in the
Monsters.
house.
My young brain, just, those are
I mean,
monsters.
gaps. Gaps in your memory.
Yeah. There were not good times in that house.
I know a hypnotist.
Yeah, I think if
Actually,
my
he
brain
doesn't.
decided that I shouldn't remember those things, I'm just going to go ahead and not remember those things.
He doesn't actually do that anymore. He uses it more for therapy now.
Well, okay. So
I remember one time I tried to make a contract with one of them, and I was still really young. We were still in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it actually rejected me.
The first trailer or the second trailer?
This was
when you had your own room, or when we were all three in the same room?
The first trailer.
Okay. All right.
Because remember, I had that pull-out bed. And so there was that pocket of darkness right next to me, underneath the bed.
I forgot about that, with the trundle.
So I was so terrified, I wanted it to stop, that I actually started trying to make deals with them. And it rejected me. It actually said that you are too young. And it told me to never ask this again, not until I know what I'm asking. And I actually listened to it and never did that again.
How old were you at the time?
I think I was like 6. And it was creepy because, I couldn't speak. This was a typical night terror where you're so afraid that your vocal cords just lock up. And you can scream, but it's just that air, like, And
I don't know. I've never had that. So
really?
Yeah.
I hate that.
Well, so I just saw its eyes looking at me from underneath the bed, and it's kind of gray skin. And it spoke in like a deep kind of authoritative voice, but it was quiet. Like, it still managed to keep it toned down. And it, rejected the idea of making a contract with a child.
Probably a good thing.
Bringing back some very uncomfortable feelings, actually. Okay, so you've basically always been in touch with something, basically from forever. When you were little, actually, and I mean like a baby, you used to, it would be hours. My mom, when it was time for you to go to sleep, she'd stick you in the crib in their room, and you would scream for like 3 hours straight before you'd finally pass out every single goddamn night.
Most likely I was being visited.
Wow. That's crazy.
I remember one time, I think it was, what was it? It was when I first started actually like seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
I was screaming because I didn't want to be put to bed, and then I felt the bed kind of shake, and it almost like a hand reached out from underneath the bed and reached through the bed and touched my back. And I just had the
No.
sensation of calm.
Oh,
Oh,
And
really?
I stopped screaming. It was terrifying, but I stopped, and it was after that that I started to kind of see more things
Huh. Okay.
rather than just get the feeling of those things.
Damn.
I don't remember how old I was for that.
Was that also in the first trailer? Was it the trundle bed that happened? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
wow.
Okay. So all of that shit's going on from as early as you can remember, basically. And I will concur. Our house was creepy as fuck. Like there was never a time it wasn't scary as hell. Like there was always shit going on, and it always felt like there was lots of stuff around, and sometimes there were voices and sometimes there were shadows, and it was our mom was seeing stuff, I saw stuff. I don't know if Abby saw stuff or not. I wouldn't be surprised if she did. And I don't know if our
It was
dad.
a new-ish development out in the middle of the desert, so it does kind of fit the MO for a lot of these things, you know.
No. Yeah, right at the base of a mountain, a big
Mm-hmm.
mountain. Yeah. Okay. Well, so
Which mountain?
then South Mountain.
South Mountain.
Which, yeah, hey, where were the lights? The
Yep.
Phoenix
Yeah,
lights?
the Phoenix Lights.
Okay.
So when all of this crap's going on, when's the first time you feel like the Morrigan stepped in?
Well, that didn't happen till way later.
Okay.
That was in high school.
Okay. Did you like ask for a deity? Like what do you think led up to that?
I was sick.
Okay.
I was like physically ill. And I was also kind of depressed and like kind of disturbed, I guess, by something that was going on in my life. But I was physically sick too. I remember that because I was kind of in a fever dream, and I saw a woman who at that time I had not identified. She had a skirt made of raven feathers. She had a necklace of like, I want to say it was like brass, and there was various stones in it. And there was no top, but I didn't notice that at first because she was just so covered in scars.
Oh, yikes.
But she had a beautiful face. She had long black hair, and she was very pale. And she fed me a poultice, some sort of elixir or brew. And she said, "This will make you feel better, and this will help your body and mind."
Oh.
And she said, you need to assert yourself in life, and a fever dream. So it's kind of hard to piece it together. I think it might have even been more feeling than words.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you need to assert yourself and stand up for yourself and be who you need to be, and stop worrying about what other people think. And like basically, I took that as stop being a pussy. And so the next day, crazy enough, I was in a horrible mood. Like I was enraged the next day. And I actually fixed a lot of my problems because of it. A lot of the troubles I had went away, but I also was physically, I wasn't sick anymore. That was the biggest change. The first thing that I noticed, aside from very small things will set you off, a teenager, that could have just been hormones. But I was no longer sick, and I haven't been as susceptible to disease since then.
Huh.
Like you remember, I used to get the flu like every season, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
It'll be years before I get sick now.
Well, that's cool. I didn't realize that. Was I living in the house at the time that this happened, that you had this fever dream, or was I already gone by then?
I feel like you might have been gone. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I was in the other room where you
Okay.
used to live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay.
But
And
then I also started having weird dreams that may very well have been that middle world that you're talking about.
Okay.
where things changed based on where I was and where I was sleeping. And I would see the people I referred to as the mumbling ones for years because I didn't know what black eyed kids were, but they were full grown adults. They kind of had like almost dreaded hair because it was so matted, pure black eyes and white skin. And they would speak, and it almost sounded like bees buzzing,
Yeah.
but you would understand what they were saying somehow.
That's very creepy.
And that was in this middle world that I think you're describing.
Okay. And so I have more questions, but I want to pause for a second. Her appearance. So, did you say she was tall?
I wouldn't say she was tall.
Like an average size woman?
Yeah.
Okay. Was
She
she
just looked
like,
like a normal person.
she wasn't emaciated? She was just normal build. She just had, but she was, I think I heard you say that she was naked from the waist up, but she
Yes.
had so many scars, you couldn't really tell that. What did that mean? Did she not have breast tissue? Like, what does that mean?
I didn't even notice that she wasn't wearing a shirt at first. Like, she was just
Okay.
so riddled that I just didn't even. It almost like she was wearing a bunch of belts, but it was her own
Oh,
flesh.
Jesus.
Wow.
What would make scars like that? Like whipping? Like, what do you think? What was your impression?
Just,
Okay.
it seemed like she had been through many battles.
Good. And okay. And she was wearing a skirt made of raven feathers, and she was beautiful, and she had long black hair, and she was wearing that necklace. So, like, was there anything about her appearance that made you feel like, yes, this is totally the Morrigan? Like, even in like later research, are there correlations between your experience of what she looked like and what other people say she looks like?
So the necklace did have like a crow skull, the black feathers, the raven hair, the paleness, kind of what she had imbued in me as far as like the way I should behave.
Mm-hmm.
All of that made me think when I later discovered the Morrigan that that's who that was.
Okay. JT, I see you nodding your head with the way that I needed to behave.
Yeah, like just him describing what she looked like, and just kind of some of the research that I done, because the Morrigan often shows up as a crow or a raven.
Hmm.
If she's the goddess of war, having scars where she's been slashed but yet still alive, that tracks with one of the versions of who she is.
Okay. Okay. And I feel like, are you okay with me continuing to ask these questions, JT? I feel a little
Yeah.
bit like I'm okay. All right.
JT, did you have any questions?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I mean, I'm waiting to get into the point of trying to figure out who exactly the Morrigan is.
Right. Okay. So
Because there's
okay.
lots.
So
Well, and she's kind of got multiple personality disorder with the triple
Yes.
goddess aspect.
yes. Okay. So moving forward, so that was your first meeting with her. Did you have more meetings with her, and how often? Like, how far apart were they?
Probably a year later, I saw looked like a totally different person. She was wearing gold, and she had like a gold chest plate kind of, and she had red and a yellow like clothes, but they were like sheer. Like you
Okay.
couldn't see through them, but they were just like real sheer and flowy.
Okay.
And I saw that woman was comforting me. I don't remember what was going on. I just remember the dream. She was comforting me and like talking me through something. And then the Morrigan pulls me aside, like rips me out of the bed and said to be careful of such of like that lulling sort of don't become complacent.
Huh.
Like be careful of pleasantries type of thing.
Like, don't get
I don't know.
soft.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Be careful. Sometimes beauty comes with great hardship, I guess. I don't remember.
Okay. Okay. And so, like, these meetings with the Morrigan, you've had more. So, how did this shape, like, I guess, how impacted were you? Like, why did these don't seem like terribly impressive meetings? I mean, aside
No,
from the
not
one
really.
that kind of cured you, this last one doesn't, like, what was it about it that made that stick with you?
It's little nudges, and then just the idea that I was being tried and I was being watched.
So, do you
That
feel
kind of
like,
steered me more than anything.
okay, do you feel like she's setting trials in front of you?
I
Is
do.
she creating some of these circumstances? Okay.
I believe so.
All right. Have there been other circumstances you feel like she's putting in front of you and other visitations by her?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard because shit happens.
Yeah.
So is it just her allowing things to happen and seeing how you respond, or is it just she's creating these instances, or is it just shit happens?
Right.
I mean, life happens, so it's hard to say.
Okay. And so one question I have, and I feel like I asked this before, but I don't know, is she like your god? Like, is she your goddess? Like, do you pray to her? Do you do rituals for her? Like, like,
More so
what
like
is
a
her
guide.
importance to you? Okay.
I wouldn't say that I pray to the Morrigan, but if I start to err, or if I start to deviate, that's more so when I would typically see her.
Okay. Is there anything that you can think that, like, why does she come to you and why not anybody other, like, why not any other person in the household? Like, what is it that you think brought her to you?
She did claim to be the mother, so I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe she just sees us as her children.
But why not me? How come I haven't been visited?
Maybe you have. They take
Maybe.
different forms.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe she just took on the form of the Morrigan to deal with an angsty teenager.
So,
It's hard to say. I don't know. It's all very obscure. But in looking up the Morrigan, I kind of got what felt like the information I needed to continue.
yeah. Did you like swear fealty to her in any way, or like is there like an agreement or a contract between the two of you?
I don't want to say.
All right. Okay, I was just curious about that. Okay. Are you allowed to have other guides? Like, do you get visited by other spirits who are also willing to give you advice and things? Or is it
Well, there
only
is
her?
Malbus. There's the one that they say is the crow of the Morrigan.
Okay.
So, like, lesser beings can come in her stead, and that just sort of is like you get like a nagging feeling of what you should do, and that's
Okay.
sort of like what they say is like the crow speaking in your ear, the hidden knowledge, as it were.
Okay. So the Morrigan's influence in your life is like subtle nudges trying to get you to like man up and survive. Like, she's trying to help you to survive is kind of what it sounds like. Is that her function? Or how would you describe it? Like, what is the influence that she's had on your life?
I've always described it as I worship like a Catholic, uh, not
Which
very adherent.
So you're a lazy Catholic. You're a bad Catholic
Yes.
of the Morrigan. Okay. Okay.
So to answer your question, why I see her, I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not very devout. I take the lessons and I continue. Like that's really what I do.
Yeah.
Um, when I was seeing like you are falling asleep, sir.
I'm here. Barely.
When I was going to like these other worlds in my dreams, I didn't think that it was actually other worlds. I just thought they were just really complex dreams.
Yeah.
Until I started hearing more about black-eyed children and the mumbling ones as like other beings that sometimes you can't understand the beings from these other worlds. Then it sort of started to put it together, maybe this is what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why I'm getting knowledge of things that I shouldn't. Like, I have no experience in this, that, or the other. I don't know. What questions do you have? I'm flailing.
Well, okay, so that's I think that helps. So she's important to you, but in strangely a kind of it seems a little ambivalent. Like she's important to you, but she's also like not the center of like your entire belief system. Is kind of what it seems like.
So I view her as the goddess of sovereignty and strife. So she's important to me in the lessons that I gain and that I hold on to that sovereignty. So even worshiping the Morrigan, you're not supposed to deify her necessarily.
Okay. That's helpful. That's interesting. A god who doesn't really want to be a god. Doesn't want to be worshipped like a god. Okay, so now we know kind of your experience with her. So what does the lore say? What is the mythology? JT, and this is where I want you to step in. Like,
Well, I guess it depends on where you're coming from with that mythology, whether it's Celtic, whether it's Druid, whether it's Greek. I think she crosses over even into Nordic a little bit. But
I've seen aspects of her in Russian culture as well.
it dates back to the Copper Age, where she was the dominant goddess of Europe, called the Great Goddess. And so Morrigan can be translated, Mor is either great or, oh shoot, I have it. Or it can be translated into phantom goddess.
oh, okay.
And then goddess can be substituted as queen. So she has, in the research that I kind of listened to, it goes deep into the Celtic belief, and so more can mean master phantom, or it can mean great, or so she's either the great goddess, the great queen, the phantom goddess. She's the original spectress is another one. There's also she's part of the Moragu, which is 3 different goddesses, with 3 different names. Maki, is it Maki?
Maka.
Maka. Nemin. I can't. I'm not saying that right. Nemin. Nemin. But the way they say it in Celtic is different. Say that again.
I think it's just Nyman.
Nyman. And then Bobda. Bada. Bobbed. Something like that. So
Interesting.
I have heard it pronounced Babbed before. Too.
Babbed. That's it. That's the one I was thinking. So she's kind of this, and then she's got multi-purposes too. She's the goddess of war. She's the goddess of death. She's the goddess. Well, you said for you, she's the goddess of. Say that again.
Sovereignty and strife.
Sovereignty and strife.
So overcoming your obstacles, type of thing. And that can include battle. So you would pray to her in a time of battle, either personal or literal. And even if you lose, at least she'll be there to ferry you away.
Okay. She also had a partner.
And I didn't hear about him until like a few years ago. Dagda.
Yeah, on Dagda. And they were the great couple.
Known as being very wise, very skilled, and handy in many domains. He is known for fertility, agriculture, and death.
Dagda. This is part of the Danu, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
I've heard of
Tuatha De Danann.
Yep. Tuatha De Danann.
Yes. Thank you for saying that right.
I don't think it's probably right.
Well, whatever. I don't know.
That's how I say it in my head.
I mean, and it goes deeper than that. I mean, there's just so much lore around her mythology, and so much. There's just it's hard to really explain exactly what she is, because, like, for Cameron, she's different than what she would be for someone else.
And it's important not to get too. So here's the other part of that too, is like, I kind of understand too, like maybe it's just a natural defense of mine, because in the old days, people that were truly devout, like you're talking about the elder druids,
Mm-hmm.
would sacrifice themselves in really brutal ways to these specific gods. This one, Dagda, his one of his symbols is a club. Well, actually, I remember hearing in one of my classes that some of the druids would actually get one of their elders. It had to be voluntary, and beat him to death and let him sink into a bog, and that would be a sacrifice.
Yikes, man.
So like, how devout do you want to be?
To something like that. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. The thing about, so the Morrigan, what I had read, and as we've pieced this together, looking at different myths and different goddesses and different stories and stuff. So the Morrigan is part of the Tuatha De Danann, then later becomes, as the Tuatha De Danann is set aside by a different pantheon, she sort of subverts, is syncretized, her identity changes slightly, and there's a corresponding goddess, and that's Brigid. So she sort of becomes Brigid. But then there's a question about, is Brigid a goddess or was Brigid a person? And then we have the story of Saint Brigid, who was supposed to have been a nun who did a lot of great works in Ireland. And this is after the time finally Christianity comes around. And was there actually a nun named Brigid, or did we give her the name Brigid? And she actually ran a church for a long time as a kind of priest or pastor, which was not really done at that time. So they had to sort of figure out what to do with this woman who held such an important place in the community. And so they turned her into a saint. But was she really real? Was she not? And was Brigitte this actual goddess? Or, like there's a lot of question about the flow of the Morrigan from Brigitte
I'd say
to
Brigitte is probably a
Saint
pretty
Brigitte.
popular name, much like how people use Muhammad now.
Yeah.
So
But
if there was a woman that was religious and spiritual, I mean, why wouldn't she have the name Brigitte?
well, then she becomes a saint, and she's the patron saint of, what is she the patron saint of? Like a lot of different things, but she's a mother figure, and she's important to women, and she's a protector figure. And then we have indentured servants coming from Ireland going down to Haiti. And then we have the mixing of African belief systems and the Orisha with the Baron and different gods, and we've got voodoo, and then Saint Brigide suddenly becomes the wife of the Baron, as we've got all of these mixing of belief systems. So then we've got the Morrigan sort of loosely tied to the Baron.
Can I throw something else out there real quick?
Yeah.
According to Bard mythologies, Brigide is the daughter of the Dagda and Morrigan and the Morrigan.
See, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
So
I have, but I don't know, because there is the whole Danu issue, because they say that split into the mother, the crone, and the maiden.
And so for the Morrigan, has she ever come to so I know that you've said that she kind of comes in different forms. Has she come to you as these three different aspects? Like, have you seen her as the crone? Have you seen her as the mother and the maiden?
So the first time might have been the mother, but that's kind of hard to wrap my head around because that was already very battle torn.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then I've never seen the crone. And then The other one that I saw that was wearing the gold and the red and yellow, that could have been the maiden, because I don't remember seeing them both at the same time. But at the time, I thought those were separate entities.
Yeah.
So it's weird because in that state, it's like they are separate entities, but they're different sides of the same force, kind of.
Yeah. Well, my
It's
and like when so like is she what the Morrigan, is she not enough by herself that she also has to have these three different like aspects of herself? Like this trinity of being. Like where did that come in? Did you see any link to that, JT? These the three in one? I know you talked about the Morrigu, the Maka, the Diamond, and
Um,
the Bupt.
it it I mean they just go into the mythology that it could be that the one goddess morphed from the three and became the one.
Oh, I
I
see.
kind of feel
In
like it might have been the other way on that. The one goddess became the three.
Huh.
could have been because she's had so many purposes.
She might
I
have
mean,
split her power up to sort of fill these different roles.
I'm barely scratching the surface of this stuff. I mean, this stuff
Yeah.
goes.
It's
This is even more involved than the gin research, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There, it goes so deep, and then to listen to a lot of the names of the different texts, the different people, the different places. If you don't know Celtic, then you don't understand what the heck they're saying.
the history
Yeah.
is pretty convoluted, but when I see them, they're speaking on a very personal tone. It's not
Okay.
resting on laurels. It's not reciting history. It's this is what you need to do now. This is what's going on. Here's something that'll help you. It's personal. It's not something that you reflect on, yes, but it's not
It's not
what you would
dogma.
expect. Yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
So I, I think so. When you look at it as a goddess of sovereignty, what does that mean to you? Like, what when you say she's a goddess of sovereignty, what is this? What does sovereignty mean to you?
means you should question everything. Question authority. Question your own motives. Don't be corralled. Um, don't pigeonhole yourself in a way. You should listen to your own judgment and continue to critically think about stuff.
Okay.
If it doesn't seem right to you, it probably isn't correct. And then finding a way with that. So that's sort of like the way I think about things in general, as far as like day to day life. You shouldn't be beholden to one facet. Like, I don't know. Am I making sense?
I think so. Yeah. So one of the purposes or one of the beliefs is, um, she was a goddess of fertility, abundance, the goddess of death, but not in the sense of death where we die, but more kind of the opposite, where she's more responsible for bringing life and abundance to the world as part of the whole cycle of death. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, she's the goddess of death, but more in the fact that she's the goddess of regeneration of that death
Like a
and
cycle.
bringing life, and yeah, like a cycle, like bringing
Okay.
life and abundance.
It
Okay.
kind of seems like that might be bleeding over to like Dagda, her husband,
Could be.
because he kind of does that. He is the god of seasons,
Hmm.
so he will bring death into life again. The goddess Morrigan, you fly on the wings of the eagle, of the crow, means that you've died, and she's bringing your soul somewhere.
Okay. I'm curious to know what are like I feel like you've said stuff about other people who follow the Morrigan and you kind of disagree. What are some things that you've seen that you disagree with? Are you or well, I don't want to piss people off, but like let's be PC, I
Okay,
guess.
so I was in this Facebook group, and a lot of stuff they said made sense for a while. But then they started saying stuff like they started creating safe spaces. They started becoming super sensitive about stuff. They started trying to build up a priesthood and a central church for the Morrigan.
I remember you telling me about some
And
of this.
they tried to create positions of power within the religion. So rather than being a personal one-to-one where you sort of seek the truth for yourself, you are being told the truth by these central figures. And
That's
you can just shut off from there. That does not compute with what I have been led to believe that you're supposed to worship. You're supposed to
they're like
figure things out for yourself. Whether you're
mhm.
wrong or you're right, you're supposed to think about it.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a downfall of every religion is when people want to assert control. Ah, you're not thinking
And
about that
that
right.
seemed that instead of it being your own path, it became the path of the
Mm-hmm.
Morrigan. And I left that group. I couldn't deal with it. That yikes. Not to mention that they were easily offended by stuff, which how? You're supposed to be thinking critically. Why are you getting offended by this thing instead of just
Thinking it through. Yeah. Doing the self work. Huh.
So, have you ever looked into the idea of a plural Morrigan or Morrigu, where you talk about Morrigan or Anu, Maka, and Babd?
so that's kind of the thing though, is I hardly ever look into this stuff. I kind of just go with it. When I see her, she tells me things. That's kind of how I take it, and then I just observe. I don't really look it up because a lot of these are just words of other individuals
Yeah.
who have had their own experiences or are trying to capitalize on something. And that was a lesson I learned from the Facebook group. I don't want to be told what's correct and what's wrong from these people that are probably have their own agenda going on or are talking to a different entity for all I know.
Mm-hmm. Good call. I will say this triple aspect is something that shows up in multiple places, and I've also seen in Wicca. Um, and not necessarily associated with the Morrigan. I've seen it as its own aspect of the feminine, of like the feminine archetype as a generalized kind of power of womanhood. So you've got the maiden who is the virgin and she has all the promise of her youth and she's not yet a mother. She has that innocence to her. Then you have the mother who is a life bringer and is more worldly and is caring for the children. And then you have the crone who has the wisdom of a lifetime and is no longer fertile or childbearing. She's approaching death. And she is a very powerful aspect of the age of womanhood. And it's considered even in some of the circles that I'm in, I hear people talk about the mother, the maiden, and the crone, and talking about embracing my aging, embracing the change that's coming upon me, like post menopause, and trying to understand my place in the world if I'm not a woman who can bear kids anymore. Because for women, I don't know how it is for men, but you can have kids until you day to die if you can get a woman to have sex with you. But for a woman, that's a very finite phase of life. And society tells us a lot of times that our purpose is to bear children. So, what is our purpose after we can no longer have children? And understanding who we are outside of that. And so I don't know if that's helpful at all, JT, but I do hear that a lot outside of the Morrigan, and it's a very important and powerful triple symbol, or like trio, or trinity of power,
I use I
that gets
refer
talked a
to
lot among
Dagda a
women.
lot, but that's not necessarily the same.
Dagda is her husband, though, right?
To
What? I mean Danu. I refer to Danu a lot, but that's not necessarily the Morrigan. That's just the triple goddess. It's from what I've seen, it's just sort of people use that as a term for the triple goddess, but that's not necessarily the Morrigan,
Yeah.
nor is it correct in how people use it.
What do you think about
It's
that, JT?
I mean, it's all very
I think his head's exploding.
it's all very confusing. I'll just say
well, a lot of it was oral tradition that was then snuffed out by the Romans. So
right.
Yeah.
So
Those
I mean,
pesky
there's
Catholics.
tales of when you say the triple, you've got um, Maka, Neiman, and Babda, but then sometimes you have Morrigan, Maka, and Babda, or Morrigan, Babda, and Neiman. But then there's a small there's like one genealogy where Babda and Neiman come together because they are the wives of Niet, who's another god of war.
Hmm.
Um, and so and then Babda translates as the scald crow, a scavenging crow or carrion bird, and Neiman is panic and terror, and so it's like the two of them come together as a perspective of Morrigan as a war goddess. Um, and it's one of those two that shows up in battle, either cries havocs or lets the lets takes out the bowels of a warrior, opens up a warrior with bowels come out type stuff.
Hmm.
She's a very complicated figure.
which is what happened to Kook, that other guy. I can never say his name. I love the story, but I can't pronounce that. Kuchulian.
Oh, Cuchulainn.
He ends up
So
tied to
Yeah,
a rock with his bowels removed.
my suspicion is what we're looking at
Cuchulainn. Yeah,
is the same sort of thing that happened with like the Jinn and the Lilin and all of these. I think we start with a deity who means one thing, and as the victors of war come in and rewrite history, they relabel and they change the meaning and they make something darker than maybe than what it was, or they make it evil, to try and vilify and turn people away, to put pressure on. Like I have a deep suspicion that a lot of these changes have to do with the changing tide of culture and who's in charge and who's not.
And I'll be honest, I do believe in the Morrigan, but looking at the Lilin and the Jinn, I see some striking resemblances.
In what way?
So she can present herself to you in your dreams. She can act through you, and she can give you hidden knowledge. The only thing that's different is it seems that she's persistent throughout the ages. She doesn't die from old age. She doesn't seem to die,
Yeah. No.
which I think would be what makes her into a goddess.
Okay. That's an interesting
Sort of the
question.
same thing as like Odin.
Yeah.
well, it's interesting. I was kind
Odin's
of
a crazy motherfucker.
one of the things I was listening to an explanation on YouTube, and it talks kind of about a story of how she actually went to two different kings, I guess you would say,
Okay.
and used her ability as a pretty, goddess looking, very pretty. And then the other one, she appeared as more of like a hag or old, ugly lady, but was able to incite a war between these two.
Oh,
and she didn't necessarily care about the outcome. She just cared about the war. And so she incited this war, and I can't remember the name. Like the names are like, I don't know, Tan Electo. I don't know. I wrote down a bunch of words that I was trying to remember, and I'd have to go back and listen again. But it was a very interesting YouTube podcast that I was listening to that talking about just kind of who she was and what she did and how she
And
got her name.
that might be something that might be actually something that she would do. Hard times make strong men.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe people were too complacent.
That's a little bit. But a bunch of people would have died, and that's okay for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made them stronger.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Doesn't even necessarily make her stronger, but it makes her followers stronger.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Well, I mean,
and if she revealed herself to both kingdoms, then she's got followers on both sides.
If you just look at history in itself, and you look at good times versus bad times, you kind of have to have one to be able to have the other.
You get more sovereignty if you have people that know hardship.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So.
Okay. Well, we're an hour and 11 minutes into this. Are there any final thoughts, Cameron, or are there any things that you feel like we didn't say or that you didn't get a chance to say?
I feel like this whole thing has just sort of been thought vomit. It's not been very well organized, and I don't know that I necessarily did it justice, but I hope I answered the questions that you guys had.
Do you feel
from
like
my
you'll
point
get...
of view?
Yeah. Do you feel like you'll get any, like... do you think she'll be upset with you? Did you have to get permission from her to do this? Well, she's the goddess of sovereignty, right? It felt right. Okay.
Yeah, so I found the other times I had a real bad feeling about it. This time I don't. And notice we didn't have any technical difficulties.
I've had a little bit.
I did.
A little bit.
Your video is a little grainy on my end, but
I keep losing you guys.
Mine sometimes does that too.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I've lost you guys a couple times, but I wasn't talking, so it was fine. As long as you guys got recorded, then it doesn't matter.
So I do have somebody on Reddit that this is about 2 years ago, asked a question. She says, I think the Morrigan is calling me, but I can't tell what she wants. Valar Nina is the name of the Reddit person. And let me just kind of read this because I found it very interesting. I've been an eclectic pagan for about a decade, but I am very new to working with deities. I have typically only worked with smaller nature spirits such as Fae, but usually I only work with my own energies and energies from the moon, sun, and elements. I guess I've always taken a more animistic view of my spirituality. My partner is a devotee of Dionysus and has a wonderful working relationship with him. I love the happiness and fulfillment they derive from worshiping him, so I started exploring to find a deity I might vibe with. Throughout my search, I have been experiencing some of the most difficult mental health struggles I have ever dealt with. I feel drawn to death, drawn to darkness and anger. I keep finding bones, bird and raccoon, and cicada shells around my home. I rarely have dreams, but they have all been nightmares lately. I feel extra anxious, like I'm being watched when I'm alone. My partner recently had a dream in which a tall, shadowed, intimidating woman was standing behind me. On top of that, the crow was my guidance animal during meditations in my youth. I had no idea they were associated with the Morrigan until recently. And I have always had a strong interest in social and economic justice. It's very possible that I have Irish ancestry as well. So I think all this points to the Morrigan, but I feel I'm the opposite of what she goes for. People describe me as if a baby bunny was a person. My favorite aesthetics are hot pink and glitter. I don't think I'm a badass or strong enough to serve her. To be honest, researching her was pretty scary. My partner predicted that I would be a Persephone person. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Persephone.
Persephone person. But I can't deny the signs. I tried a small spell asking her to consecrate a pendant to help give me strength and confidence in myself. It didn't go well. My candle and incense just wouldn't stay lit, and the pendant felt like it was rejecting the energy. So I'm just really confused. And I
That
thought I'd
sounds like the
ask
Morrigan.
here, how can I clarify what the Morrigan's intentions are with me? How can I safely invite her into my life? What do you think about this whole situation in general? So she kind of asked that question on Reddit, and I found that a very interesting question. So
I
not that we're here to answer it or anything, but
It
what do
sounds
you
like
think?
that is the Morrigan, and it sounds like she's going about it the wrong way. You can't really invite the Morrigan into your life safely. That's kind of the point. To do that is because you want to grow. You want to be able to see those hardships, to feel that terror, to have that sort of you become comfortable with those things. You have a comfort in it. You are able to face those things, and it just doesn't affect you the same way. It's not that they go away. It's not that you.
They lose their power over you.
Yes. So the Morrigan isn't there to protect you. The Morrigan's there to make you stronger.
Okay.
She's there for you to find that inner strength.
Do you think the Morrigan would care if she's pink and glitter? Like, I don't think that's something the Morrigan would really care about.
Not really.
If she's about sovereignty, she doesn't give a shit what you wear, as long as you're facing your challenges.
As far
Someone
as her
here's
being timid and meek, well, Morrigan would do something about that. Probably she will have more trials.
here's what someone responded. Um, she says, most often, if she's reaching out to you, it's because you need to, metaphorically speaking, take the bull by the horns, grow a pair of brass balls, and claim your right to rule over your life and your domain.
Yes,
Damn, dude.
So,
that sounds more accurate. So you
that
don't
was
get a
that was a response.
pendant and ask for protection. If anything, that'll be a cursed object.
Okay, that's probably why it didn't go well for her.
Which was the Morrigan being nice.
She was like, poor baby bunny. No. That's not how this works. All right. Well, cool. JT, did you have any other questions? I think that's a really cool story to end on. Did you have any other questions or anything?
I didn't have any other questions. No, I mean, there's still a lot of research to do and a lot more questions. I have more questions about more of the
Find more stories like that. That was
Morrigu.
fun. I like giving my input on that type of thing.
Yeah.
As far as like my own personal, like, I don't know. It feels weird to say what my dreams are because I still feel like a crazy person half the time. It's not to say I don't allow them to influence me in some way. It's just it feels weird talking about them. So, like, there is more, especially with the crow. They've come and interacted with some of my exes. Actually, Mavis. That scared the shit out of a few of them, and they all said that it was the same name. Either it was Mavis or it was Malthus.
Anyway, that was an interesting topic as well. I mean, it was kind of fun to research that a little bit. There is a lot of crossover into other mythologies as well, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, where she kind of crosses with different goddesses, similar things to it. But I found that interesting. I found that interesting that she's presented herself to you, Cameron. That's pretty cool.
It's a messy religion, and it's not one that you're meant to be. In my experience, you're not supposed to be a devout follower. You're supposed to take the lessons and move forward.
It's kind of cool.
It doesn't seem like it's actually a religion. Like Norse mythology is mythology. It's not necessarily religion because it's practiced differently in different areas.
And that's why it's considered like a shaman religion. But it's not the same shaman that Mandy talks about. It's that it's a personal experience. Everyone has
like
their
a spiritual
own
practice.
that they need to take.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
To me, the difference between what you do, your spiritual practice, and a religion is a religion has been built up all of these rules and laws and structure on what is and is not the way that you can actually speak to this deity and have interaction with this deity, what the deity wants from you. And there's all of these people in between you and your God. I don't like religion for that reason. I don't like any of organized religions really for that reason. Personal spiritual practice is different. You have a direct relationship with whatever your chosen deity or spirit is, you know? And I think that's, to me, it makes sense because what warrior on the field of battle is going to have a chance to go to church every Sunday? You know, like you take the lessons as you get them and then you have to fucking move on and get on with living your life. Like there's no time for a lot of fucking around and doing a bunch of worship and doing a bunch of ritual all the time. Like I'm sure every once in a while she probably wants something, you know, what spirit doesn't, but the point is not for like a daily practice like that because that's not practical. She doesn't seem like the kind of deity who wants anything less than what's truly practical and what's going to work. I don't know. I don't know a lot about her, but just from what you've described.
Okay.
It sounds about right.
No. All right then. Cool. All right. Well, I think let's end this episode. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Cameron, for opening up. I have been very curious about how all of this happened for you. And I feel like there's pieces you didn't say, but that's all right.
Yeah.
And murderers, if you have any experiences, please let us know. Share.
Yep.
Discord. Email.
Oh, yeah. We got to
podcast at gmail.com.
Discord around. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Wanderers, and we will see you in 2 weeks. This has been another episode of The
Wandering
Crow.